First step is 3 steps. This activity,
Okay.
sometimes people think it's too simple, but here's the way the activity works. There are 3 steps. It's 1 picture plus 6 words. Sounds simple enough, right? Right? Is that true? Does it sound simple enough? Like 1 picture and 6 words?
Yeah, it sounds
No,
simple,
I'm
but
at.
I
It
got a
sounds
feeling
simple,
that
right?
this isn't.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move to the back of the mask.
Okay.
And you imagine the back of the mask is a little different than the front of the mask.
Right.
Yeah.
This
So the
is stuff
back
I
of the
don't want
mask.
people to know about.
Well, in the yes, and in this context, it's what are things that you normally don't talk about. So you can there's a spectrum of things, right? You imagine the spectrum could be here are the things that I don't talk about because no one ever really asks. They can be that level of the spectrum, and then the other end of the spectrum is like I just don't talk about it. Period. Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you joined us. Today's guest is Earl Crawford Jr. When I first went to go check his bio, I thought the system had a glitch because there was only like 3 words, and I was like, oh man, we lost the rest of the bio. And then I confirmed that was all that was written there. And it said, I am a servant. And man, just knowing this educator who came on the show to share his mask, you can hear in his heart his desire to serve. A couple of things came up in the podcast. Like one phrase I remember him saying was, "Turtles live longer than rabbits." Just let that sink in. Turtles live longer than rabbits. As you can imagine, that was in a conversation about always going fast, getting stuff done, which is one of my habits, but it was a powerful conversation. Another one that came up, we talked about the briar patch. I don't know if you ever heard of the story of Little Brer Rabbit and the Briar Patch. I think that's called something like that. Briar Rabbit. So some story like that, right? The Briar Patch, just uncomfortable. Like what's going on? But some thrive in the Briar Patch. And then there's a reference you're going to hear in this talk about Paul Lawrence Dunbar and the poem "We Wear the Masks," which is just perfect for this conversation as we talk about masks in this current climate that we're in, this current conversation between 2 Black men who get a chance just to take off our masks and share them with each other. There's so much going on in our world today that we didn't even talk about that probably part of me doesn't want to talk about because I don't know what emotions may come out of it, but I don't know why it didn't come up between us in this conversation. But what you will hear is opportunity to just reflect. And sometimes we just need someone else just to talk about something a little bit different so that we can have a little bit more room to breathe. I don't know why it happens the way it happens, but I just want to appreciate him for being on the show. And I hope you enjoy the show. If you like what you hear, please share this with somebody. If you know a young man, a younger man, an adult man who needs to hear the words of men just talking about our masks, please tell them about it. If you want to make a mask, you can do that at 100kmasks.com and be a part of the Million Mask movement. The movement is growing. I hope you're able to be a part of what we're trying to do to just help people recognize that you are not alone. And there's way more going on with you than anybody can ever see just by looking at you. Thank you for being part of our show. Please enjoy today's episode. Right. Oh, well, welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. I am so glad to have you here with us, Earl. How about you just take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience, tell them what you're up to, who are you, and then we'll do a formal intro at the beginning, but this is
Okay.
the part where you get to introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Earl Crawford Jr. I am a director and principal of several programs that serve students who are deemed at risk, at promised, who have struggles. And I'm over several programs that support this population and get them back on their feet. Um, so I pretty much see myself as a servant leader. So you could take the leader off and just call me a servant. So I'm a servant. So that's where we are. So yeah, yeah. So I'm really excited to be here and glad that I get a chance to be here with you and discuss some things concerning the mask that we wear.
Yeah. What's really going to be exciting for this conversation is that one of your students has participated in this activity.
Okay.
One of your students, and he was actually in the documentary Beyond Men and Masculinity.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Two of your students. Two of your
Okay,
students.
okay, okay. Good
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. And so they have both made a mask. So now, they get to come to you and be like, "Oh, you finally made a mask now?" So
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward
that's
to it.
exciting.
I'm looking forward to it
Yeah.
because they will give me a whole lot of jumbo for. I'm
Well,
excited.
it's one of your young men actually who has moved on from your program to back to a traditional high school, which
Yep,
is a great testament to the work that you've been doing with them.
yep.
And
And I've spoken to his. I just spoke to his mother last week, and she is very grateful to, to our program and to you and your program for how we've supported him. So, kudos to that young man.
yeah, well, we should have another talk because he's been hiding from me right now. So
Oh,
he's yeah, he's hiding. Yeah, I called her the other day and said, "Hey, I'm trying to track you. I'm trying to track him down. He's not replying to my phone calls."
oh
He,
yeah. The sheep's
one of
hiding from
them.
the shepherd.
But what we do, we go after the one, right?
Yep, yep, yep,
We
yep.
go
That's
after
what we
the
do.
one. They leave the 99. They are important too, but that one matters.
That
And
one
how do we
matters.
pull them back into the fold? So, and I know that that's something you're really passionate about. So, man, this is not really an interview. This is a mask experience. So we're gonna
Yeah.
make a mask together.
Okay.
And so here's how it works. So, and you've never made one before, yeah?
Never made one.
Okay, all right. This is so beautiful. All right. Well, you got a piece of paper there. You fold it in half,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I got it.
All right. On the left side, I want you to write front, and then on the right side, I want you to write back.
Okay.
And for those anyone out there who have not yet made a mask, you can make one digitally. You can go to 100kmasks.com and you can make a mask digitally. But Earl and I are going to make one on paper and then we're going to share them out. When you make yours online, you don't have to share it out. It's anonymous, but you can download it if you choose to do that. So, all right, here we go. First step is 3 steps. This activity,
Okay.
sometimes people think it's too simple, but here's the way the activity works. There are 3 steps. It's one picture plus 6 words. Sounds simple enough, right? Right? Is that
Hmm.
true? Does it sound simple enough? Like one picture and 6 words?
Yeah, it sounds
No,
simple,
I'm at.
but I
It
got a
sounds
feeling
simple,
that
right?
this isn't.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Well, I'm glad the intuition is kicking in already, right? So, all
Yes.
right.
Yes.
For the first step is going to be draw a mask. So, whatever you think a mask looks like, ideally not a personal protection mask, but whatever you think of when you think of a mask. On the left side, draw a mask. And draw that. Are you coming over there with your mask?
I think I'm coming all right. Yeah, I just
Okay.
should have made him smile.
Oh, don't worry about it. Well, whatever's calling is going to be the. We always tell students, you know what? You don't have to know how to draw. Just follow your heart, and
Okay.
your heart will draw it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is just the front.
All you're doing is drawing in front. You don't need. We're not going to draw anything on the back.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. All right. All right. So now, that mask that you drew is kind of like a representation of you on the paper, just for
Okay.
example.
All
So,
right.
so on the left side where the mask is, second step is to write 3 words or phrases. It could be a phrase, but just 3 words that are qualities or characteristics of yourself that you gladly let the world see. So 3 qualities or characteristics of yourself that you gladly let the world see, and write those on the left side. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move to the back of the mask.
Okay.
And you imagine the back of the mask is a little different than the front of the mask.
Right.
Yeah.
This
So
is
the
stuff
back
I
of the
don't want
mask.
people to know about.
Well, in the, yes, and in this context, it's what are things that you normally don't talk about? So you can there's a spectrum of things, right? You imagine the spectrum could be here are the things that I don't talk about because no one ever really asks. They can be that, level of the spectrum. And then the other end of the spectrum is like I just don't talk about it. Period. So we're asking people just to write the three that they feel the most comfortable writing, and they're willing to write because ultimately, because we're sharing it, public. Most people when they make their mask, they're anonymous, so they can, kind of go deep as they really want to, knowing that once that
Okay.
card is submitted. But since we're going to share it, just find three things that you normally don't talk much about, that you feel comfortable writing, and write those on the back of the mask. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
You ready? Okay.
Yep.
Well, here is what we're gonna do. You and I are gonna share our mask, and the first question would be like, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay. So what we do is you'll share the front, and then I'll share the front, and then you share the back, and then I'll share the back, and then we'll discuss whatever comes up present.
Okay. All right. No problem.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. So here's mine. Um, so uh, I made my face like the face of like a superhero or the mask of a superhero, and you know, it kind of looks like that one guy who like he has like all the superpowers with his brain. So he has like this light bulb here, but he's engaging, he's hopeful, and he's strong. And so that's what I present to the world freely with no hesitation. Like I believe that people can make adjustments. I engage and listen to what people have to say. Um, and I present myself as strong, but a lot of times that presentation is because of my size, not because I'm actually presenting that way. All I have to do is be
Mm.
quiet, and then people just assume that I'm strong. So, so there's that piece. Um, so yeah, that's the front of my mask.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I'm gonna show the front of mine. Get the light right. Okay. So that's the mask there. And the front says caring,
Hardworking
hardworking,
and dedicated.
and dedicated.
Yeah.
And I put dedicated separate from hardworking is because like I mean I do work hard, but I wrote dedicated just because I think I try and like this is this work that we've been doing with ever for 16 years, and sometimes I've been like it shouldn't take this long to grow what I like, but and I get in comparison mode. I get into
Mhm.
comparing, and
Mhm.
so like yes, I'm working hard, but I'm dedicated and I'm sticking with it, and I probably could write determined too, like I don't know, but those are the three that came up for me
Well,
today.
turtles live longer than rabbits. I'm just, sorry, I'm just throwing that out there for you.
Oh, I'm gonna write that one down. Okay, all right, starting. It's like,
Hey, you guys, this is a lot of
oh,
inside jokes going on right here.
oh man. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well, here we go. We're
here
about
we
to move
go.
to the back. All right.
Okay, so the back is pretty intense. So
Okay.
just get ready.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so things that I don't talk about uh, are domestic violence as a perpetrator and as a victim. Vulnerability. I don't really talk about the things that I'm vulnerable to, or things that I consider to be vulnerable, whether emotional, mostly emotional and mental things that
Yeah.
are vulnerable. And then when I'm hurt or sad, when I'm hurt or
Yeah.
sad, uh, I, I'm like a turtle. I go into my shell, right, and uh, and I withdraw from folks so that I don't have to present what's on the back of the mask, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy for me to disappear and not communicate with folks, or uh, yeah, just disappear because I
Yeah.
don't want to really share what's going on inside. But when I do get a chance to share, I feel so much relief. But it's just like I'm always having to be careful of who I share that information with, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
vulnerability can be taken advantage of,
Yeah.
and and so can what can be deemed as a strength. So, I could be seen as strong on the front, but that can be taken advantage of as well, right?
Yeah.
Because I present strong, then people continue to lean on you when you can possibly not be as strong as what you presented,
Yeah.
right? So you look like you can lift 350, but 185 is about as much as you can lift at this point in your life, right? So, you know, um, perception is not always reality, and so I'm grateful for this exercise, man. Like, yeah, I didn't even think about it until you asked those questions, and yeah, like I think I'm gonna
Oh man.
put this in my office.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Man, thank you. Thank you for that. I so appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me show you mine.
Okay.
So the back of my mask says fear of failure, and I put
Hmm.
a comma and a comma because I could keep going.
Right.
I'm gonna come back to that. I put
Okay.
sadness and childhood trauma,
Yep.
and I when I the reason I did this comma is because I made a post the other day on LinkedIn, and I was like right now I'm handling too much most of the social media stuff, which I don't really want to be doing, but like this is what's happening. And I feel like I'm always talking about ever forward, right? I feel like I'm always so I don't post enough nearly to build momentum because I'm posting on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, blah blah blah. I think I'm posting all the time, and technically I'm barely doing anything. I'm barely scratching the scratch because once you post one time at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's buried by 10:30,
Hmm.
and and I'm not doing the so, but because I hold back, there's so much information I want to share, but I'm like, I already shared, so I don't need to share again. And I think I wrote in this post, I said all these things I was afraid of, and I wrote them down. I just wrote them and said, hey, folks, I just want to let you know over the next couple of days, I'm going to post a lot. And I was just like having to talk it out to myself. Like, why am I worried about? What am I worried about? I'm worried about a
Hmm.
lot of other people's voices. I'm worried about what people are going to say. I'm worried about, and I know that my intent is not to brag. My intent is not to overwhelm people with information. My intent is to share this what I think is sometimes good news and sometimes some not so good news, right?
Hmm.
But I put the commas now because there's so many things I'm I'm also afraid of in failure. I think sometimes I maybe think I'm afraid of success, right? Like
Hmm.
maybe I wouldn't claim that. I don't think that that's my prevalent thought that I'm afraid of success. I definitely don't want to fail.
Right.
Um, and so anyway, and that comes up, and
I
I
mean,
think I wrote something like,
you should have played more sports. You should have played more sports, man. Because you win or you learn. you know, yeah. And those people that believe you win or you lose, you know. And then I just said that the turtle lives longer than the rabbit, and
yeah,
you know, uh, the advantage that the turtle has over a rabbit is a rabbit has to go find somewhere to go hide, and sometimes if they when they run into the briar, they're running right where the fox is, right? With a
yeah,
turtle, the turtle carries his home with him. And
mm,
so,
mm,
I guess my encouragement to you is you have been given um, mental, emotional, spiritual home
yeah,
that you can really lean on.
yeah,
And, it's okay to go inside of that place. There's a scripture, I don't want to go into that, but there's a scripture
yeah,
that I go into the secret place. I go into my
yeah,
hiding place. I go into this place
yeah,
so that I can find some solace, right? And so
mm,
not only should you be okay going slow and steady, you should be
yeah,
okay going inside of the
mm,
values and belief systems and support systems that will re-energize you.
yeah,
Why not?
yeah,
Why not
mm,
just give it a shot? You know, I mean, I have yet to see. I've seen tortoises, especially in the Midwest, walking in the middle of a huge highway, and everybody stops for them. Nobody wants to hit the turtle, right?
wow, wow, yeah. I can only imagine. I mean, that's I've never seen that before. I tell you, but I'm gonna definitely look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
It's a beautiful sight to see. It's
It's
a
just
beautiful
like
sight to
okay,
see.
and
Yeah,
it's gonna take its time.
yeah.
It's
It's
taking
going
its
to take its
time.
time, and
Yeah,
it's not worried about the car that is speeding down the street is not worried about anything. But guess what?
Mm.
The world slows down for the turtle.
Mm.
Why are we so intrigued
Mm.
and inspired by the turtle? Because the turtle is consistent and he continues just going on his path. He's not worried about anybody else's path. He's going on his path.
Mm. Wow, wow. That's beautiful, man. And you know, I think the other day, I don't know when it was, over the last couple of days, I think this message came to me around like my journey is my journey. My
Yep.
journey, like I think who I don't know who I heard it say it this morning, maybe Darius Daniels or somebody. He was like if I had received an opportunity 10 years ago, you know, and whatever forward to be on national TV. Like, I mean, I barely knew what to do 5 years ago when the documentary came out. Like, I was like, oh, am I supposed to share this with a bunch of people? You know, like I was more hesitant to share it with anyone, right? I
Right.
shared it with a few people. We had a little fundraiser and that was it. And I was like, okay, I guess people will now. And I realized that I'm learning that this new opportunity, I've been trying to maximize it, right? Because
Right.
I'm a little smarter now. I'm a
Yeah.
little wiser, right? I think there's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like and I think that go into that place, go into the solace, go into that place of like reverence, right? Like I think, you know, coming to that place of understanding that where I was raised, you know, you were speaking to some of my language, right? I was raised in the church, you know, and I
Hmm.
think I think ultimately, you know, I don't with my young people, and I'm working mostly schools. You know, I'm not telling them about God or things like that. You know, but I think that hopefully through my life they see that there's
Yeah.
like
You may
why are
be the
you?
only Bible or Quran or Torah that someone may ever read, right? Like you may be
Yeah,
the only light source that a person
yeah,
may ever experience, and it doesn't have to be relegated to a specific religion or anything like
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
again, we gain inspiration from your consistency. So it's not
yeah,
necessarily the speed at which you're doing things; it's the fact that you're
yeah,
still doing it after all
yeah,
these years. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
And
dope, bro.
you too in education as well. Like I think, like imagine like let's say 10 years ago. We're in 2021 right now, so 2011. Where was I in 2011? I was working at Arise High School in the Fruitvale, math teacher at a charter school,
Hmm.
like feeling like what's going on here, right?
Right.
Feeling deceived, right? I left Disneyland in Marin at a private school. I was at Disneyland, and then I came back to my town that I love, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes you look in the moments, and you're like, why am I here? Why am I here? Why did I let myself make that move? Right? And I think that you can't see it till you look back at it now. Now looking back at it, I'm exactly clear
Right.
why that happened,
Because
right?
you certainly have a better understanding of people, right? You have a better understanding of systems,
Yeah, yeah,
structures,
yeah,
right? Things that are built to be barriers for the population that you ended up serving,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then you serve as the as the person who's a conduit between like the policy and
Yeah.
the polity and you know like real life because
Yeah.
you're dealing with students and families who are dealing with real life and all these academics are they just want to use lingo that goes over these families' heads and the family never gets served, right? And you
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
worked to get in the middle of that, and so did I. But like
Yeah.
just reflecting back on, I think we connected at some point when you were at a middle school in Oakland.
Montera.
Yeah,
Montera. Yeah,
yeah.
I was a
So
dean. I was a
I was
dean.
trying not to
Yeah.
drop any
That was
names. You went and dropped the
no.
name. You
Oh no,
named
I tell them everyone knows my story. My story's out there. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's
So,
that's my
I mean, you were an assistant principal there, and I was, I went from a TSA to a assistant principal in a
yeah.
school in Oakland, and
Yeah.
the experiences that we shared
Yeah.
concerning the systems that we were dealing with
Yeah.
and how it got in the way of us just doing really pragmatic and practical things for our students. You know, I mean, it's enough to
Yeah.
piss you off. Like,
Man.
like
Man.
why do I have to wait 7 days to get this kid some damn help when the
Yeah.
help is right here on my campus? I could just take them right to the office. Just let me take them to the office. You know, let me make a phone call. I got a
Yeah.
student who's pregnant. Let me make this phone call to pregnant parenting team program over in, in a different LEA. Like, can I
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
LEA is like a different district. So
Yeah.
let me go ahead and do that. And I do that, and then my hand gets spanked. Right? I get my hand spanked because
Yeah.
I didn't follow the protocol. But the kid is pregnant, and you don't want the kid that's pregnant on your campus because of the liability of possibly losing this baby if she get in a fight.
Right.
Well,
Right.
let me go put her somewhere safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
man.
Man, and I imagine we could be on this call for hours, right? Because I
Oh
think
yeah,
that one of the things you and I know about education is that not only being a product of these systems, but then trying to be a person who is um, trying to be a guardian of it in a really good way. When you
yeah,
meet guardians of it who are only there for title, prestige, or whatever, and I think
yes,
one of the things that when I think about how growing up, I was clear that okay, all these things that I've dealt with and experienced, I need to keep them to myself. I need to just focus so I can get out of this school. I can go off to college. I mean,
yep,
this is me when I was on track. When I was off track, no one cared about Ashanti. Ashanti was a knucklehead. You
right,
know what I'm saying? Like when I was off track, like it, and I realized from being both parts, from being a good student, meaning a 3.9, 3.8 student,
right,
like the elusive 4.0, but
hmm,
I was one of the best students, and from being a student who was like, man, I don't care about this stupid class, I don't care about this stupid school, I don't care about you, I don't care about none of these people. Like I
right,
remember being both sides. So as an administrator, as a teacher, I get both sides. I get all
hmm,
kids, and when
hmm,
teachers who are in their classrooms trying to do that work, when they recognize, man, there's some kids, if you don't show up if you don't show up one day, that kid's gonna make up their own homework.
right,
Like you're gonna come in after a day off, the teacher's gonna be like, hey, here's my homework. I'm like, oh no, there was no homework yesterday.
right,
And the kid's like, oh, I made up my own. I'm like, well, then you graded yourself because I didn't assign any. You know what I'm saying?
right,
And then you got the kids who you could deliver the homework to their house,
man,
and they're not doing the homework. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And then have a classroom full of all the different mixtures between those two different styles of student, like, and you're trying to reach them all.
yep,
That requires a lot of navigation of waters that are sometimes
absolutely,
complicated. Yeah.
absolutely, man. We wear the mask that grins and lies,
Man.
right? It
Man.
hides our cheeks and shades our eyes, right?
Paul Lawrence
Oh,
Dunbar,
yeah,
right?
man, all day, every day,
Oh
right? And
man.
and and it's so poignant and relevant today, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we find ourselves as agents of change
Hmm.
in these systems, and feeling like we have to do it covertly. But at some point, like me, like you see what kind of hoodie I got on. Like at some point, then we have to live our truth and
Yeah.
acknowledge the fact that we are here to help the people that have been, you know, denied the help. And so,
Yeah.
uh, you know, we were denied
Yeah.
help, and someone broke through our mask.
Right. Right.
Right? They got behind our mask.
Right.
Said, "Oh, I see what's behind here. Like, here's my mask. Oh, I see what's behind here. Okay, let me help you."
Mm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
even as adults, we have stuff that we've been dealing with and that we've gone over. But
Yeah.
again, it's the experience, right? And so, um, certainly,
What
man.
What do you think it takes? Just maybe just one question, because I know we don't really are just talking about this experience, but what do you think it takes for young people, who have been in the margins, who have been like pushed out of a regular school, who are now trying to redeem themselves, or they're not sure they want to redeem themselves. They just know that they got to be in this place and this layover for the next possible step. What When we did this activity with those two young men, I really saw a light show up in those two young men, right? And
Hmm.
one of the things I remember the most was when I would come to park in the parking lot where I would see some of the young men. One of them would come over to me, and the other ones you could tell were like, why is he going over there? What's going on? And some of them,
Mhm.
I think they wanted to like, and they were some of them were edging over a little closer. And I'm like, hey, come
Mhm.
over, I'll chat with you. And I think they were like curious but not curious enough, and like interested and not curious enough, or they were envious, right? And I mean, lack of a
Mhm.
better word, like
Mhm.
who he think he is talking to
Mhm.
that guy, like who he think he is who has
Mhm.
this guy trying to help him do something. And it was, and I think that is all the layers of what we experience with young men.
So
But
when
yeah,
you asked that question, the first thing I thought was like, well, what does it take for us as adults? What does it take for us as babies? Right? Like,
yeah,
why does the way that we approach everything have to change? Like, nurturing and care goes into the baby, right? We
yeah,
put, I've made plenty of mistakes as a father, with my children, and as I'm reflecting on that, I stopped being the gentle, kind man that I needed to be for them when they got older, right? So as they become adults, yes, the world is going to be hard, it's going to be ugly, but if I knew then what I knew now, I would encourage them that it's okay to be a turtle. You don't have
mm,
to be fast. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be like you can like anime. You can like Japanese, right? And I'm talking to my son now, right? Because me and my son having a strange relationship. So I'm saying if I were more open to what he was into, then maybe our relationship would be a lot better. Had I been more compassionate to his mother, we probably have a better relationship, right?
yeah,
So as I'm reflecting on your question, you said, well, what does it take for young people? Well, the same thing it took for the baby. Like when that
mm,
baby came into the world, that baby was the world.
mm,
And then
yeah,
somewhere along the line, as the child got older and more cognizant of the world around them, we pulled away. I pulled away,
mm,
right? And as
yeah,
adults, we figure that we can do it all by ourselves until we can't. And then that's where you have people who are reluctant to ask for help,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
help is seen as a sign of weakness. But shit, if I could get somebody to support me to achieve my dreams, not only is it a a star or a check on that person's arm, but
yeah,
it's helping me to help the next person.
yeah,
But we forget
yeah,
about that baby, and we
yeah,
we forget that we stay the baby. We are the baby for the rest of our lives, whether we want to admit it or not.
yeah. Man. Man, I almost think we're gonna need a part two, because I think we haven't,
Hey,
we,
it's all
we we haven't
good.
even really dug into the mask in a way that. But I think what we talked about is really clear. Right? I think I'm gonna show. I was watching a video just yesterday of DMX on and his son. Right when
Yeah.
they brought him back together. They hadn't seen each other in a year and a half, and
Mhm.
he just like he opened his heart to his son to like say, I never knew a young man growing up who had a father. And he's like, man, I did my best. I tried. He was just like sitting there in front of his son, just like with tears coming down his face, like, I really tried to be good for you.
Mhm.
And man, to have his son, he said it. You didn't, you weren't, I was trying. I was asking you, you want to go do stuff. Like I'm gonna provide the stuff, but like I want to have a relationship with you. And man, that broke my heart watching that last night in a way that was beautiful to say, man, how many fathers have have children who are they're trying to be for what they didn't have, and so they're doing the best they can with just limited information,
Yeah, man.
skills, talent, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so thank
And
you for sharing
rest in
that.
peace to DMX too, man, because he was,
Yeah,
you could tell again he was working through stuff, and
yeah,
he was and some stuff he conquered and he won, and some
yeah,
stuff, but he was open though, man. Like, but the only way he was able to be open was through his music and through his
yeah,
poetry.
yeah.
In a regular conversation, that's not up for discussion,
Right,
right?
right,
So
right.
there we go, another mask.
There it
You know what I'm
is.
saying? So,
There it is.
I'm glad that you brought him up, and I'm glad that that was very encouraging for me because, certainly I want to have a relationship with my son, but
Yeah.
I also know that I'm going to continue to do the work on me to
Yeah.
be who I need to be, not only for my son, but for my daughters and for
Yeah.
my community, and and for you and people like you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you, brother. Well, listen, I am so thankful that you came. Is there anything that any last? I mean, I wanted you to tell people if if they want to connect with you. But is there any last message you want to say to folks out there? Because you made a mask for the first time today. Like I've known you for years,
Yes,
and but this is the first time you made a mask. Anyone?
yes.
You have any message for anyone out there who is like hesitant? They're like, can the one
It's
picture in
worth it.
6 words?
It's
Yeah,
worth it. It's worth it. But if you too cool for school or you too hard to engage in this process, then take a step back, and it's okay. Just draw the mask. You know what I'm saying? If anything, just draw the mask. You don't even have to write the words, because
yeah,
draw symbols, or
yeah,
it's or little signs that mean something to you, and it may not mean anything to anybody else, but it means something to you,
mm,
and it'll be
yeah,
just as strong and just as powerful. Because as I was drawing, I was wanting to add like little signs and symbols on here, and you know, um, and yeah, when you asked for the words, you know, it was hard for me to come up with them. It was hard for me to come
yeah,
up with them, and when I got to the back, it was very clear to me the things that I don't like to talk about or that I don't want to talk about, but I
yeah,
know, we have to deal with it at some point. We can't just throw it in the back of the mask all the time.
yeah, yeah. Well, man, thank you for being here with us on taking off the mask. I think that
Thank you.
what I hope is that more men that we can get more men in this space to have these conversations and know that you're not alone. That
Yeah.
that what you're dealing with, that men all over, and not just men, but everyone, because the campaign is for everyone. But this podcast, these
Yes.
conversations have been really helping people recognize that men, we feel too.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we don't necessarily may have a space to like recognize that I can talk about this and not be judged, not have
Yeah.
anybody try and fix me, not have
Yeah.
anybody try and make me into something, but just to say, I see you, brother, and thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that, I just want to tell you, I see you, brother.
Man, I
Thank
see
you,
you too, brother. Thank you.
man. Right
Appreciate
on.
you,
I
man.
appreciate
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
And is there any way if people want to reach out to you, do you have a way that people can reach out to you? Is there some way that makes
Uh,
sense?
yeah. Well, I mean, I have an Instagram, but
Okay.
I'm doing like credit recovery stuff on there, but I don't really talk about
You
education on there. But
right
it's
on. Right on.
ENC Junior 81.
All
At
right.
the at ENC Junior 81 on Instagram. I believe I
We'll
have a
link
tool,
it. We'll link it. We'll
and
link it
and
in the
I
show notes.
and I have it. That's the same one for Twitter too. I don't
Okay.
on Twitter. I'm probably talking about my Clippers. I might retweet something concerning education. Um, but feel free to like shoot me a line if you're interested in doing the work and digging in the work on helping our young people, and not
Yeah.
just our young people, but our teachers too. Our teachers need support,
Yeah.
and they need professional development, and they need spaces where they can be open and vulnerable and transparent about you know uh, where they are as human beings in the classroom, trying
That's
to
right.
lead other young human beings. So
That's
just
right.
hit me up. I'm that's my work.
Right on. Well, folks, thank you for being a part, and thank you, Earl, brother, for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast, and for being in this work, for being willing to do the work, and for hopefully inspiring other men out there and other people in the world who can begin looking behind their own mask as well. Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks, everybody. If you want to make your mask, you go to 100kmasks.com, and we will be putting that in the show notes. Take care, everybody. If what you heard today you enjoyed, if you've listened to this and you found something inspiring, please like and subscribe to this podcast. That's the best way for someone to find this podcast, maybe like you did. Please tell someone about it. If you know, listen to some of our previous episodes, and if one of them rings out to you, please share it with somebody you know. We also invite people to join us in a face-to-face where they come together with another person to make a mask and talk about that mask together. There's short conversations, about 20, 30 minutes. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please send us a message, send us in the comments below, let us know that you're interested in that. And we look forward to you joining the movement of the Million Mask Movement. And check out our new shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but this is our new shirt, the Million Mask Movement. And so we'll have these soon available. But we look forward to you being a part of the movement and supporting our work. Please consider supporting the work that we do in Ever Forward and in the work that we do in the Million Mask Movement to let people around the world realize that they're not alone. Thank you.